Hey, before we get into today's video, I want to let you know that we are giving away a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Bundle. There is a Gleam.io link down in the description to enter. It is absolutely free, and I wish all of you luck. Bethesda is now openly considering Nintendo Switch for every new game moving forward. Now, some people might have figured this might be the case, but then again, we also know Fallout 76 isn't coming to Switch. We're aware of other games from Bethesda that aren't necessarily coming to Switch, but that doesn't mean that they're not planning to continue to support Switch with even maybe more than we've seen already. Remember, we've seen Skyrim, we've seen Doom, we've seen Wolfenstein 2, and they did announce Doom Eternal as well as coming to Switch. But outside of that, we weren't really sure where the support was going to lead to. And is Bethesda even happy with how games are performing on Switch? Well, Pete Hines did a panel at PAX in Australia today and talked at length about the Switch. And it's very interesting what he said. Let's just get right into the quotes. It says, "The Switch is something I can say with a certainty that it's part of every conversation with every dev we have now about what we're doing forward because we consider it to be a viable platform. If the game will work on it, we want it to be on every platform possible. Fallout 76 is not because it just wasn't doable. But honestly, there is no game in development that we haven't had a conversation about bringing it to Switch. Does this work on Switch? Do you have a plan for Switch? It's not a mandate. Everything we do has to be developer-led, but it's something we want to make sure is on folks' minds." And then he goes on to say, "I enjoy us being as the third-party leader in terms of supporting Switch. People go, hey, you've got a lot more stuff on Switch than this publisher or that publisher. That's what I want Bethesda to be known as. We're the guys who will take some risks." Later on, he actually says the next Wolfenstein game is coming to Switch. So there you go. Don't know if that means Wolfenstein Youngblood, which currently is only confirmed for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and isn't really a new mainline. It's kind of like an expansion pack that stands on its own. You know, if you guys remember the Luigi U DLC for Super Mario Brothers U on on Wii U, it kind of works similar to that, where you can buy it on its own and just play that, or you can attach it to Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. But there is also a third major Wolfenstein game coming that they have confirmed in the past, so it's potential that he's talking about that game. Maybe he's talking about both. Who really knows? He didn't really elaborate on which Wolfenstein game he's talking about, or if he's just referencing both. It's interesting because he talked also a little bit about the closed system walls between major consoles needing to come down. And this has something to do with, with cross-play and stuff, but let's just look at what he said about that. He said, "I think if you're going to see platforms get more homogenized because truthfully there's not really a reason for competing consoles to be different. You don't buy a DVD and then worry about which DVD player you have. You just buy a DVD and anything that plays DVDs works, and I think games are going to start moving closer to that. You might decide to play it on a Sony machine or a Microsoft machine or use the Google streaming service, but it'll start, I think, to look more like it really doesn't matter which you choose to play it on. You just want to play this game on the thing you choose to play your games on, whether that's because where your friends are or whatever, things like cross-platform play, cross-platform progression, and all of that stuff. We as an industry need to start to move to not be so beholden to, I only make a thing for that machine and not this one. The faster we get to that, the better it'll be for developers, the better it'll be for games. I think we as an industry, because we need to, are going to move less towards differentiation. Why is a thing better on one platform than another? And more towards, I want to make a thing that everybody can play. Because that's ultimately what's going to get you the most players. That's what's going to get devs the most money and reach the most fans." So I think it's interesting the direction that Pete Hines says Bethesda is kind of looking at things. They don't feel that games should just disclude platforms just for the hell of it. Like, they want to bring everything they can to Switch. They won't force their developers to do it, but they are making sure all the developers are considering Switch in the process of making their games. And it goes along with their philosophy where, yeah, there's going to be differences between the games on different platforms, just like there's differences sometimes, if you're watching a 4K Blu-ray or a normal Blu-ray, or if you're watching a DVD, there's differences there as well. But that being said, he just saying that, like, Everyone should just be able to play all the multi-platform games on every system. It shouldn't just be, I'm only considering PC and Switch. I'm only considering PC and PlayStation 4. I'm only considering PlayStation 4 and Xbox. He's saying that you should just be considering everything. And I actually agree. I think the more people that get to play the games, the better. And yeah, I understand why console exclusives are going to exist. Obviously, you have companies that, like Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, that make exclusive games or purchase contracts to make exclusive games for their platforms, and that's going to continue to be a thing. And that I think for the most part, that's okay. But if you are a third-party developer, like looking at the industry, especially at the AAA level where you can afford to be on all these platforms, he's kind of saying you just should be. There's no reason not to at least try. And yeah, obviously he admitted, with Fallout 76, and we learned, last week with Elder Scrolls Online, that obviously there's going to be some reasons why certain games can't come to Switch, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. And that's kind of the key thing. Like, yeah, the game can't come to Switch, but I'm sure they tried running it on Switch and just see what would happen. So that's the thing. If the game's possible to run on Switch, they're going to put it on Switch. And that's exciting. That's also exciting for a Switch revision that might land next year, or the Switch 2, or future Nintendo platforms. And what's more than that is he mentioned, I didn't read this earlier, this was a quote as well. He talks about the Nintendo Switch and it being basically why they're supporting it, not just because of this philosophy, but because they're making money. He says, you go where the money is, because that's how you stay in business. What we have seen compels us to say Switch is a viable platform for the kind of things we do going forward. Folks, there it is. There are the words I have been waiting to hear from a AAA third-party developer over the past decade on a Nintendo platform. Stop with the excuses that these games do not sell to that audience. Stop making excuses. Yes, I'm talking to you people watching this. I'm talking to the naysayers. I'm even talking to the people that are saying, we don't want your Call of Duties. We don't want your Assassin's Creeds. Apparently, we want Bethesda games, so chances are there's an audience for those games as well. We should want all AAA third-party games on Switch. We're not going to get them. I've accepted we're not going to get them. I made a video, you can look at the card above, that talks about how we're not going to get all the AAA third-party games, and I've accepted that reality. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't want them. And whenever I get the attitude of, well, we're just not going to get them because those games won't sell on that platform, Bethesda just came out and said Switch is a viable platform for the kind of things we do going forward. The kind of things we do. Bethesda, major AAA publisher, makers of the Elder Scrolls series, and Doom, and Wolfenstein. That group right there is the group saying, hey, oh, Fallout, can't forget Fallout. They're the ones saying, yeah, we're making money on Switch. He literally said, you go where the money is, because that's how you stay in business. Switch is viable for the things we do. That means they are making money on the platform. Yeah, maybe they're not making all of the money. Where companies always want everything. They don't want a little slice of the pie. They want all of it. But you're not going to get all of it if you don't also support a platform that is profitable. And if I had to guess, they going from Skyrim, where Skyrim probably made a decent amount of change. But if you go from Doom to Wolfenstein, I could imagine they maybe made more money with Wolfenstein than Doom. They might make more money with Doom Eternal than Doom, because there'll be a larger audience on Switch at that point. And obviously Nintendo has put stats out there that say something like 85+% of the audience on Switch is over the age of 18 anyways. So it has the crowd that is of the age that would be interested in these games. Not that you can't be interested if you're younger, but just in general, they target, mature audiences, and the Switch has a mature audience. Yes, that mature audience plays Mario, and it plays Zelda, and it plays Splatoon. Of course it does. Because those games are for everyone, including that audience. And we also play Doom. We also play Octopath Traveler. We also play Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like, we play these hardcore games. So thank you, Bethesda, so much for putting this out there, that not only are you going to try as hard as you can to bring every game you possibly can moving forward to Switch. So now we know 100%, because I wasn't sure if Bethesda was all in. Now I know. They are all in. They are considering Switch every single game they're making. Yes. Does that mean we're going to get every single game? No. But we are going to get a lot more games coming from them in the future. This actually gives me hope for the next Elder Scrolls game. As amazing as that footage looked and all this stuff, and the fact that it's probably being made for next gen and there's all these years off, I wouldn't be half surprised if it comes to Switch. Because Bethesda is that dedicated to Switch. Built an audience on Switch for Elder Scrolls with Skyrim. So, thank you. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for a AAA third-party dev to come out and say Switch is not only like viable, it's a moneymaker. Yeah, it's not the biggest moneymaker, but it can't grow in terms of it being a bigger moneymaker for you if you're not putting your games on the platform. They firmly believe the more games they put on the platform, the bigger the audience is going to be for those games, and the more money they're going to make over time. And they've clearly already made money because it says you go where the money is. So they're already making money. Switch is already viable for them. Man, it feels good to be a Switch owner right now if you like Bethesda games. Because this is a company that truly believes in, I think, the kind of attitude all of us should be happy with as gamers. They believe all games should be on all platforms, at least when it comes to multi-platform. They believe that that also should include Nintendo, that you shouldn't just shut Nintendo out because they're different. Yeah, he does think the systems shouldn't be as different as maybe they are, but until we reach a point where obviously you're getting PlayStation 5 level visuals on the go or something like that, there's going to be some differences, and that just happens. But it doesn't mean developers shouldn't consider all platforms. Thank you, Heinz. I appreciate what you said at this PAX panel. I'll have a link to our article on this at NintendoPrime.net that also gives sources in there and everything. One of the sources is GameSpot to all of this information. But I'm just stoked. This is what I want. This is what we've been waiting for, Switch owners. This moment right here is what we've been waiting for. All right. I'm going to catch all you guys in the next one.